Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. You've been running after money like it's a life raft in a storm. But the truth is, it's often just a mirage. You think that a bigger paycheck, a fancier car, a higher status title will calm the storm inside. You tell yourself that if you earn enough, you'll finally be safe. But deep down you feel the emptiness gnawing at you, no matter how many digits you stack in your account. This is the first brutal truth. Money is never enough to shield you from your own fears. You chase security as if it could armor you, but each new acquisition only uncovers another layer of anxiety. You're standing in a desert, drinking water that disappears as fast as you sip it. The security you seek is a shadow, flickering and untouchable. Every decision you make with money, what you buy, what you hoard, what you avoid, reflects more than desire. It reflects your shadow. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Your overspending might be a cry for recognition you never received as a child. Your avoidance of investing, saving, or planning may hide a deeper fear of responsibility or failure. When you examine your bank statements, look past the numbers. Look at yourself. Do you see patterns of fear, of envy, of longing to prove your worth? Money is a mirror. It reflects the wounds you've tucked away in the dark, the unspoken fears you don't dare name. Every purchase, every withdrawal, every financial choice whispers a story about your hidden self. You may not like what you see, but that reflection is real, unavoidable, and urgent. Ignorance is the heaviest price. It's the silent storm that breaks you when the paycheck comes and goes without peace. It's the gnawing anxiety in the middle of the night when you check your balance. It's the envy that blooms when someone else earns what you desire. It's the subtle shame that clings when you see the life you imagined slipping through your fingers. Living unconsciously with money means carrying chains of stress and resentment you never acknowledged. You suffer silently, yet you persist in believing that effort alone will change the pattern. Effort without awareness is like rowing upstream in a river that bends back on itself. You exhaust yourself, but the current, the unconscious, remains in control. The moment of awakening comes when you stop blaming the system, the economy, or luck, and look straight at your own behavior. The question is not, how can I make more money? The question is, what is my relationship to it, and why do I behave this way? The first step is uncomfortable but necessary. You must face the uncomfortable reality that your financial struggles are often a mirror of unhealed wounds. The pursuit of money as comfort is a lie you've been telling yourself, and the sooner you see it, the sooner you can take control. You have been drifting, letting fear, envy, and desire steer you. Now, it is time to awaken. Money is not the master. It is a reflection. It reveals the parts of yourself you've hidden, denied, or feared. Awareness is the first currency of the soul. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing themselves. You grew up hearing it again and again. Money will solve your problems. Money will make you happy. Money will make others love you. And you believed it. You watched the world chase digits like children chasing fireflies, dazzled by the glow, but never capturing it. You've worked long hours, sacrificed sleep, ignored warning signs in relationships, all for the promise of security that whispers, when you have enough, everything will be okay. But beneath the surface, the emptiness remains. No amount of wealth can fill the gaps left by neglect, trauma, or fear. You may surround yourself with things, a bigger house, a luxury car, a title on LinkedIn, but inside, the hollow ache is unchanged. You are not the numbers in your account. You are the unacknowledged pain behind them. Society sells you a mirage of happiness tied to money, but the desert of your soul remains untouched. Family taught you lessons too, though quietly, insidiously. You learned what money means without ever being told. A parent's worry over bills became a shadow you carried. A sibling's brag about a new gadget became a benchmark you chased unconsciously. Culture piled on with messages that success equals respect, wealth equals worth. You internalized these ideas, and now they govern choices you barely notice. Every hesitation about investing, every compulsive purchase, every avoidance of financial responsibility is a dialogue between you and the invisible rules you inherited. Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Look at your financial patterns, the envy, the guilt, the constant measuring against others. These are not just habits, they are reflections of early conditioning, projections of fear and desire you never confronted. The way you handle money is a story written long before you could read, a narrative of survival disguised as ambition. Then there's the seductive illusion of security, love, and approval. You hand over money hoping it will buy affection, admiration, or calm. You've seen it in romantic gestures, in friendships, in family obligations. You buy gifts to be loved. You donate or tip to be respected. You invest to feel in control. And yet it never satisfies. Every transaction is a whisper of your inner lack, a signal that something essential within remains unfulfilled. Money is a mask, a tool to fill the void that only self-awareness and self-acceptance can touch. You crave the comfort of wealth because you fear confrontation with yourself. But the more you lean on it, the further the real satisfaction drifts away. The security you imagine is only a mirage, reflecting the world's promises, not the truth of your inner life. Each dollar spent to buy peace is a dollar spent to avoid awakening. A small rebellion against reality, a temporary anesthetic for the unseen wound. The false love of money leaves you restless, searching for validation in balance sheets, applause or admiration. You may earn respect, envy or attention, but none of it quiets the storm inside. The illusions crumble in silence, leaving only the echo of your own unexamined needs. And this is where true power begins. Recognizing that money is not the savior, not the comfort, not the proof of worth. It is a mirror, reflecting your fears, desires, and unmet needs. Confront the mirage. Step beyond it. See that love, security, and peace are cultivated from within, not purchased, not earned, not borrowed from others' eyes. The currency of life is self-awareness, not gold. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Your relationship with money is not entirely yours. Long before you understood bills, paychecks, or credit, patterns were being written into you. Your parents argued over finances, or maybe they avoided money conversations entirely. Maybe wealth was a secret, a taboo, a symbol of power you were told to fear or envy. These are not just memories, they are scripts, shadows that follow you into adulthood. Jung taught that the shadow contains all the parts of ourselves we refuse to see. The financial shadow is no different. Every hesitation about spending, every compulsion to hoard, every quiet anxiety when bills arrive is inherited. You think it's a personal failure, but often it is an echo of a family story you absorbed unconsciously. Society too plays its role, whispering rules and judgments about who deserves money and who does not. These shadows are not punishments, they are invisible forces shaping your choices. They hide behind rationalizations, disguise themselves as preference, but they dictate behavior with relentless precision. You inherit them, you live them, and until you confront them, they will steer your life. Fear and scarcity became teachers in ways you barely noticed. Perhaps your first memory of lacking empty cupboards, unpaid bills, or a parent's anxious sigh etched a pattern in your psyche. Scarcity becomes a shadow companion, whispering that you must cling, must control, must never let go. This fear manifests as avoidance, delaying investments, ignoring debts, refusing to ask for what you deserve. Or it becomes compulsion, overworking, overspending, chasing more to silence the gnawing emptiness inside. Early neglect teaches the mind that security is fragile, that comfort is earned with struggle, and that mistakes are catastrophic. You might recognize these behaviors in yourself. Double-checking purchases, feeling panic when money runs low, or envying others without reason. These are not flaws, they are messages from your past, unconscious instructions written by survival instincts that once protected you. Facing them is frightening, because it means seeing the wounds you inherited. But awareness is the first step toward reclaiming freedom. And the shadow does not stay in the past. It manifests in everyday life in ways you rarely connect to origin or cause. Perhaps you sabotage opportunities for financial growth, delaying promotions, avoiding risks, or hiding from abundance. Perhaps envy flares when a colleague earns more, or resentment builds toward friends who seem financially freer. Impulsive spending, reckless investments, or secret hoarding are more than quirks. They are emotional outlets for unresolved inner conflict. Money becomes a stage for your shadow to act, replaying fear, desire, guilt, and shame in vivid patterns. Every late-night impulse purchase, every hesitation to invest, every regretful financial decision is a conversation with your hidden self. Recognizing these patterns is uncomfortable because it forces you to acknowledge the parts of you that hide in plain sight. It is not weakness. It is confrontation with truth. You are not failing. You are awake to the shadow that guides you, a shadow that now can be integrated rather than ignored. The revelation is profound. Your fears, your compulsions, your avoidance, these were chosen for you long before you knew you had a choice. The liberation begins when you see the forces behind your decisions, when you trace behaviors back to their origin in inherited wounds and unprocessed trauma. The shadow is not an enemy. It is a messenger, showing you the hidden architecture of your mind and heart. You can no longer blame circumstance or luck. You can no longer pretend unconscious scripts do not exist. Confront them, acknowledge them, understand them, and they will lose their control over you. Shadow seen, power reclaimed. Every form of addiction is an attempt to escape from the self. You thought money was safe. You thought wealth was control. You believed that if your bank balance climbed high enough, the world would finally stop shaking beneath your feet, and then it didn't. The numbers in your account didn't erase the anxiety. The investments you clutched so tightly didn't shield you from fear. The illusion collapses quietly at first. A missed paycheck, an unexpected expense, a failed plan, but then the walls give way entirely. You feel exposed, naked in your own life, as if every carefully constructed fortress you built with dollars and decisions was built on sand. The reality hits with a jolt. The financial fantasies you clung to were never yours to command. They were borrowed illusions, borrowed from the world's promises, and now they crumble into dust in your hands. That emptiness, that vulnerability is real, and you can no longer hide behind the veil of numbers. The collapse is both terrifying and necessary. It forces you to confront yourself. With the fortress gone, your identity begins to unravel. You tied self-worth to numbers, to status, to perception, and now those anchors are gone. Who are you if not the person your paycheck or portfolio told the world you were? Every reflection in the mirror feels alien. Every comment from colleagues, friends, family hits with sharper edges. You question every choice, every desire, every ambition. You wonder if you ever truly knew yourself at all. The chaos of identity without the crutch of wealth is dizzying, disorienting, and painful, Jung wrote. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The darkness of financial collapse shines a spotlight on the parts of you you have ignored, denied, or hoped would disappear with more money. The chaos in your mind mirrors the chaos in your finances, revealing that stability was never in numbers, it was in understanding and accepting yourself. The emotional fallout is relentless. Guilt creeps in for not saving enough. Regret gnaws for the years spent chasing illusions. Envy flares at peers who seem untouched by collapse. Fear coils in the chest, whispering that you will never recover. Every thought is a storm. Every memory of past decisions feels like a chain around your heart. The collapse is not just financial, it is existential. The breakdown forces you to face the truth of your relationship with money and with yourself. But in the depths of this emotional turbulence lies a hidden gift. Pain exposes reality, strips away illusions, and presents clarity. The chaos, though brutal, is the precursor to transformation. When the storm finally quiets, you will see that your value is not measured in currency, but in consciousness. You will see that collapse is not failure, it is initiation. From the ruins, I rise whole. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. You have spent years equating wealth with love. Every promotion, every bonus, every dollar you accumulated whispered, "You are enough." But it was never love. It was never an affirmation of your worth. Money is a tool, a mirror, a measure of exchange, but it cannot fill the human need for belonging, for validation, for acceptance. When you tied affection, respect, or self-esteem to numbers, you built your emotional life on shifting sand. A lavish gift does not replace presence. A bank balance does not replace connection. The moment you realize that your pursuit of money was also a search for approval, you start to see the illusion clearly. You see the danger of conflating financial success with personal validation. Every sleepless night spent chasing status, every fear of loss, every envy-fueled comparison dissolves when you disentangle love from wealth. You are not the numbers in your account. You are not the title on your office door. You are the awareness behind the chase. With awareness comes liberation. Recognizing the truth of this illusion is like stepping into sunlight after years in darkness. The compulsions that once governed your behavior, the impulse to overspend, to overwork, to compare endlessly, begin to lose their grip. You breathe differently. Choices appear where once there was only reaction. You may notice it in small moments, choosing a path that feels right rather than lucrative, refusing to measure your worth by another's standard, or simply feeling calm when money fluctuates. Awareness is the lens that transforms obsession into insight. When you see clearly, the chains of unconscious patterns break. You begin to act, not out of fear or habit, but from conscious decision. This is the first step toward mastery. Freedom is born when you understand that love and self-worth were never for sale. Autonomy is your reward. When you reclaim responsibility for your financial habits, shame no longer holds you hostage. Mistakes become lessons, setbacks become information, and discipline becomes power. You no longer rely on money to validate your identity. You create alignment between values, action, and self-perception. You choose how to earn, spend, save, and invest, not to impress, not to prove, but because you are conscious, awake, and capable. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Taking control of your financial life is part of that journey. You feel the energy of agency in your chest, a quiet certainty that you are the master of your own choices. No longer a slave to illusion, you step into a life where wealth serves you, not the other way around. Love yourself beyond the ledger. He who looks outside dreams, who looks inside, awakes. You cannot escape the shadow that follows you into every financial decision. The first step is recognition. Watch yourself. Look at the patterns that repeat endlessly. Overspending when stressed, procrastinating on saving, obsessively comparing your wealth to others. These are not accidents, they are messages from the unconscious. Signals your psyche sends to reveal fear, desire, and unresolved wounds. Perhaps you notice that every time money feels scarce, panic rises in your chest, or envy blooms toward a colleague who seems to have it all. Maybe you hoard or splurge without reason, creating cycles of guilt and relief. Recognition is not judgment, it is awareness. Jung said, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. The financial shadow is yours to observe, not to blame. When you identify these hidden patterns, you turn chaos into insight. Every impulse becomes a clue. Every hesitation becomes data. You begin to see the forces shaping your behavior, and that vision is the beginning of power. Once seen, the shadow can be integrated. Fear, greed, scarcity, they were once weaknesses that controlled you. Now they are raw energy waiting for direction. Instead of avoiding the discomfort that arises when finances feel threatening, you sit with it, name it, and allow it to teach you. Greed can be reframed as ambition, fear as strategy, scarcity as discipline. You feel the tension in your chest, the pulse of your desire, the tug of insecurity, and you breathe into it rather than running. Embracing these parts of yourself is like turning lead into gold. You transform vulnerability into strength, chaos into opportunity. Every dollar, every investment, every decision becomes charged with conscious purpose. The energy that once sabotaged your life now fuels creation. The shadow is no longer an enemy lurking in your unconscious. It is a partner, a guide, a teacher of resilience and power. Mastery comes through deliberate action. Awareness alone is not enough. You must choose consciously where to earn, where to save, where to spend, and where to invest. Not to chase illusions or appease fear, but to align with your values. Create structures for your money that reflect your priorities. Set boundaries to prevent old patterns from taking over. Audit impulses without shame. Each decision becomes a step toward autonomy, a declaration that you are not a victim of unconscious habit. You build a relationship with wealth that serves life, not the other way around. Discipline becomes freedom, awareness becomes courage, and intentional action becomes mastery. You no longer react to money, you guide it with insight, aligning resources with meaning. Jung wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity." Harness the inner necessity you now understand. Transform fear into strategy, greed into ambition, scarcity into discipline. The shadow, once a tyrant, becomes your ally. Shadow embraced, power awakened. Peace is not the absence of chaos, but the presence of awareness. You have walked through storms of fear, greed, and confusion. You have watched illusions of wealth collapse and shadows of scarcity rise from the depths, and now you stand on the threshold of a new perspective. The first step is seeing abundance, not as a trophy or a measure of your value, but as a tool, a resource to create, to share, to build a life aligned with your inner truth. Scarcity was once your lens, coloring every decision with panic, envy, and hesitation, but now you can shift that lens. Every dollar becomes a brushstroke in the painting of your life. Every investment, every choice, every moment of discipline is not proof of worth, but a reflection of awareness. You begin to understand that the richness you seek outwardly has always had a counterpart inwardly, the wealth of insight, self-acceptance, and clarity. When scarcity no longer rules, fear loses its grip, and you can move through the world with intention rather than reaction. Financial peace is not about accumulation, it is about alignment. Each conscious choice you make, whether to save, spend, or invest, becomes an act of harmony between your outer reality and your inner values. You notice the subtle calm that comes with clarity, the freedom that emerges when impulses are observed rather than obeyed. Bills, debts, and expenses no longer trigger anxiety because you now understand their place in your life. Not as enemies, but as components of a system you navigate with awareness. Emotional stability grows in parallel with financial discipline. The storm of past compulsions, the turbulence of envy or regret, softens when you respond with conscious intention rather than fear-driven habit. Your financial life becomes a reflection of psychological balance, each decision echoing the internal mastery you are cultivating. And in this mastery lies vision, the realization that true wealth is never only in numbers. It is in the integration of shadow and light, trauma and insight, desire and discipline. You see yourself whole, capable of navigating life with both courage and wisdom. You recognize that money is neither savior nor tyrant. It is an instrument through which your consciousness manifests in the world. You feel the subtle power of choice, the strength in self-knowledge, and the quiet joy of alignment. With each step, the chaos of past fears dissolves, leaving space for creativity, generosity, and purpose. You have not only survived the shadows, you have met them, learned from them, and transformed them into energy that fuels intentional living. Mastery